Have you noticed how worry about money can linger even on days when nothing has actually gone wrong? Have you felt moments where earning more didn't quiet the tension you expected it to? Do you ever sense that the anxiety isn't tied to a specific bill or number, but to something harder to name? Have you observed how two people with similar finances can carry completely different levels of ease? Do you find that the pressure around money often grows louder in stillness rather than during action? And have you wondered why financial stress can remain even when the immediate risks are under control? Money anxiety is rarely just about money. It forms quietly, shaped by past uncertainty, comparison, and the stories we tell ourselves about safety and worth. While external circumstances matter, the weight we carry is often internal, rooted in perception, not reality. To understand it, we need to look beyond income and expenses and toward the inner framework through which money is experienced. Many men notice something quietly unsettling. Even when income increases, the anxiety does not always decrease. The numbers change, but the feeling remains. There is a sense of pressure that follows closely, adjusting itself to every new level of comfort or success. It does not always arrive as fear. Sometimes it feels like restlessness, sometimes like constant calculation, sometimes like an inability to fully relax, even during moments that should feel secure. This is confusing because the mind expects relief. More stability should bring calm, more margin should create ease, yet the tension persists, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to stay present in the background. This is often interpreted as a problem of circumstance, but in many cases, the source is not external. It is internal, structured quietly within how a man relates to money itself. Money anxiety is often framed as a response to shortage, not enough income, not enough savings, not enough certainty about the future. But this explanation does not hold up when the anxiety continues even after those conditions improve. At that point, something else is operating. Money in itself is neutral. It does not carry fear. It does not create urgency. Those sensations arise in the mind that engages with it. For many men, money becomes a symbol rather than a tool. It represents safety, competence, independence, or worth. When this happens, the nervous system treats money not as a resource, but as a measure of identity. This is where anxiety takes root. Because identity is never static, it constantly seeks confirmation. When money becomes the proof of stability, the mind begins to scan for threats. Expenses feel heavier than they are. Opportunities feel urgent even when they are not aligned. Periods of rest feel undeserved. The pressure is not coming from bills or markets alone. It comes from the internal demand to maintain a certain version of oneself. There is also a subtle confusion between preparedness and control. Preparedness is quiet. It is based on clarity and structure. Control is restless. It tries to eliminate uncertainty entirely, which is impossible. When control becomes the aim, anxiety becomes permanent, because the future cannot be fully secured. No amount of planning can remove all unknowns. Discipline is often misunderstood here. It is not the tightening of effort. It is the narrowing of attention. A disciplined mind knows where energy belongs and where it does not. Without that inner discipline, financial thinking expands endlessly. Every scenario is considered, every possibility is rehearsed. This creates mental noise, not safety. The anxiety, then, is not about money leaving. It is about clarity being absent. Over time, this internal tension shapes how a man sees himself. He may begin to associate calm with achievement rather than alignment. peace becomes conditional. This creates a subtle instability because conditions change, markets shift, responsibilities grow. Life introduces variables that cannot be managed through effort alone. Self-mastery in this context is not about earning more or optimizing harder. It is about recognizing where meaning has been misplaced. When money is allowed to return to its proper role, something settles. It becomes supportive, not defining, important, but not central. This does not remove responsibility, it refines it. A man with inner stability still plans, still builds, still prepares, but the emotional charge is different. Decisions are slower, not out of hesitation, but out of precision. There is less internal argument. This kind of clarity does not announce itself. It is felt as reduced friction, as fewer mental loops, as the ability to focus on what is directly in front of him. Identity becomes anchored elsewhere, in character, in consistency, in the ability to remain steady under uncertainty. From that place, money anxiety loses its intensity, not because circumstances are perfect, but because the internal structure is sound. The question quietly shifts, not how do I secure everything, but what deserves my attention right now. That shift alone changes the experience. Money will always involve uncertainty. That is not a flaw, it is simply the nature of life moving forward. Anxiety arises when uncertainty is treated as a personal failure, when it is taken as evidence that something is wrong with one's position or worth. But uncertainty does not need to be defeated, it needs to be held with clarity. When the internal relationship with money is stable, external fluctuations lose their power to dominate the mind. Pressure becomes manageable, planning becomes cleaner, rest becomes possible, not because everything is resolved, but because the center is no longer shifting. Quiet stability does not come from accumulation. It comes from knowing where you stand, regardless of the numbers. And when that is clear, money becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool, nothing more.